You're in a relationship with someone who's emotionally distant. They pull away when things get too close, leaving you wondering, what happened? It's confusing, frustrating, and honestly, it might drive you crazy. Did you know that around 25% of people have an avoidant attachment style? That's 1 in 4 people you meet, and they may not even realize how their behavior affects their relationships. Avoidants struggle with intimacy. They want love but fear it, leading to a constant cycle of closeness and distance. You've probably noticed their pattern: sudden emotional withdrawal when things start to get serious. It's not personal, but it feels like a personal attack. And if you're an anxious partner, you might find yourself chasing after them, creating an even bigger emotional gap. It's a trap. In this video, we're diving into the mind of the avoidant partner, uncovering why they do what they do, and offering you real strategies to handle the emotional chaos. Want to know how to break the cycle? Keep watching as we reveal how to communicate, set boundaries, and rebuild intimacy without driving each other crazy. Chapter 1: The Silent Storm. Understanding the avoidant partner can be frustrating when you feel emotionally alone, even when you're in a relationship. That silence? It might come from your avoidant partner. Avoidant attachment style is often misunderstood, but it's key to understanding why they seem emotionally distant. This doesn't mean they don't love you, it just means they struggle with closeness. Studies show that 20 to 25% of adults have an avoidant attachment style. What's going on inside their mind? Simply put, avoidants tend to see emotional closeness as a threat. They value independence and fear being overwhelmed by intimacy. The result? They might withdraw or shut down during moments when you crave connection. This fear of being suffocated can be traced back to their early life experiences, especially if they were raised in emotionally distant environments. Interestingly, avoidants often don't even realize they're doing it. It's a defense mechanism they learned over time. In fact, research shows that avoidants are less likely to express their needs, leaving their partner feeling disconnected and confused. The truth is, they fear being vulnerable because it makes them feel exposed. Understanding this behavior is the first step. Instead of reacting with frustration, try to approach them with empathy. Recognize that their distance isn't a rejection of you, but a fear of being overwhelmed. Accepting their need for space doesn't mean you have to be passive. Your emotional needs are important, too. Chapter 2: The Invisible Wall. How to spot the signs of emotional distance. If you've ever found yourself wondering, where did they go? In a relationship, you may be experiencing the invisible wall that an avoidant partner puts up. 1 minute, everything feels fine, and the next, they've retreated into their shell. This emotional withdrawal isn't always obvious, but there are telltale signs. First, avoidants often have a tough time with deep conversations. If you notice they suddenly change the subject or shut down when the conversation gets too personal, this could be their way of avoiding emotional intimacy. They might even use humor to deflect, offering light-hearted responses instead of engaging in serious discussions. Another sign? They tend to avoid situations that require emotional vulnerability, like important anniversaries or deep relationship talks. Avoidants also tend to minimize conflicts, brushing things off with phrases like, "It's no big deal," when it really is to you. They downplay emotions to maintain control. When they pull away, it's easy to feel like it's something you did wrong. But often, it's not about you. It's about their fear of intimacy. According to Dr. Amir Levine, author of Attached, avoidants often view emotions as a burden. They may have learned to keep their feelings hidden as a way of coping. So, how can you spot it? Pay attention to their body language and communication patterns. If they're distant and avoidant in both words and actions, it's a clue that they're withdrawing emotionally. It's important to trust your instincts, your emotional needs are valid. Chapter 3: Dancing in Circles. The push and pull dynamic. Have you ever felt like you're in a constant emotional tug-of-war? 1 minute, your partner is warm and affectionate, and the next, they seem distant and unavailable. Welcome to the push and pull dynamic, a hallmark of relationships with avoidant partners. Here's the cycle: when they feel too close to you, they pull away. When they feel too far, they may start seeking closeness again. This can feel like an emotional roller coaster. The truth is, avoidants crave connection, but they fear it at the same time. Their need for independence can clash with your desire for intimacy. Psychologists call this the anxious avoidant trap. You might feel anxious about their distance, and they may feel overwhelmed by your need for closeness. This dynamic can lead to frustration on both sides. A study published in Psychological Science found that anxious partners tend to chase after avoidance, creating a cycle that's hard to break. If you're constantly chasing your avoidant partner, it can leave you feeling drained. So, what can you do? Start by giving them space without withdrawing your affection completely. It's about finding a balance. Avoidants need room to breathe, but they also need reassurance that you're not going anywhere. This is where communication plays a huge role. Instead of pushing for a deep conversation when they pull away, consider simply asking them if they need space. This small act of respect can ease the tension. According to Dr. Levine, avoidants are more likely to open up when they don't feel pressured. Be aware of the emotional roller coaster. Recognize that when they pull away, it's often a fear response, not a personal attack. The key to breaking this cycle is patience and understanding. While it may take time, finding harmony in the dance between closeness and distance is possible. If you're finding these insights helpful, make sure to subscribe for more advice on dealing with tricky relationship dynamics. Chapter 4, The Mind Game, How Avoidants Play with Your Emotions, Without Meaning to. If you've ever felt like you're on an emotional roller coaster with your avoidant partner, you're not alone. The game they seem to play with your feelings isn't intentional, but it can still be deeply frustrating. Avoidants are often unaware of how their actions affect you. They may act distant or cold when you need them to be close, and then suddenly warm up when you're pulling away. But why does this happen? It all boils down to their fear of being overwhelmed by emotions. Avoidants have learned to keep their feelings in check because vulnerability makes them feel exposed. When they sense intimacy or closeness building, they may instinctively distance themselves to protect their emotional well-being. This isn't a manipulation tactic, even though it can feel like one. In fact, avoidants are known to struggle with emotional expression. A study in Personality and Social Psychology Review found that individuals with avoidant attachment styles tend to suppress their emotions more than others. This emotional suppression can come off as coldness or indifference, leaving you questioning their love. If you're constantly being pushed away, it's important to recognize that this behavior isn't about you, it's about them. Dr. Diane Poole-Heller, an expert in attachment theory, explains that avoidants are afraid of getting too close because they fear losing themselves in the relationship. This can make them appear emotionally distant or even emotionally unavailable. So, how can you deal with these mind games? The first strategy is to stop taking their behavior personally. Instead of internalizing their actions, try to view them through the lens of their emotional fears. This allows you to respond with more patience and less frustration. And if you feel emotionally drained, it's okay to set boundaries. Protecting your emotional well-being is just as important as respecting theirs. Chapter 5, Navigating the Minefield, How to Set Healthy Boundaries with an Avoidant. One of the most important skills in dealing with an avoidant partner is learning to set healthy boundaries. It can be tough, especially if you're the type who craves emotional closeness. However, setting clear, firm boundaries can improve the relationship by creating a sense of safety for both partners. Boundaries are not about shutting each other out, they are about defining what's acceptable and what isn't. Start by being clear about your needs. Avoidants often struggle with emotional expression, so they might not pick up on subtle hints. Instead, communicate directly. For instance, instead of saying, "I just want to feel more loved," try, "I need more affectionate gestures," like holding hands or a hug when I'm upset. Clear, specific requests help avoidants understand your expectations without feeling overwhelmed. It's also crucial to respect your own boundaries. If your avoidant partner withdraws when you try to have a serious conversation, don't chase them. Give them space, but let them know that you need to address issues together. According to Dr. John Gottman, a leading relationship expert, couples who can balance emotional distance with emotional closeness are more likely to thrive. Another strategy is to avoid pushing for answers when they pull away. Instead, allow your partner to process emotions in their own time. Avoidants often need time to reflect before they can engage emotionally. This doesn't mean you should accept emotional neglect, but recognizing their need for space can help prevent conflict. Importantly, setting boundaries means learning to say no when necessary. If you feel like you're being emotionally drained or manipulated, don't be afraid to step back. In fact, a study from Psychology Today found that individuals who are able to assert their boundaries tend to have more stable and fulfilling relationships. By respecting both your needs and your partner's boundaries, you create a relationship that is more likely to be healthy and sustainable. It's a delicate balance, but one that's worth striving for. Setting boundaries may feel uncomfortable at first, but it's a crucial step toward building a lasting connection. If you want to dive deeper into these strategies, hit subscribe and stay tuned for more relationship advice. Chapter 6: From Frustration to Fulfillment, Can You Find Harmony with an Avoidant Partner? The question on many minds is, can you find fulfillment in a relationship with an avoidant partner? The short answer is yes, but only if both people are willing to work on it. While avoidants often struggle with intimacy and emotional closeness, they can still form deep, meaningful relationships with the right strategies in place. One key factor is patience. A relationship with an avoidant partner can feel like a slow burn. You may not experience the same level of immediate emotional intensity that you would with other attachment styles, but over time, avoidants can learn to open up if given the space and encouragement to do so. Dr. Amir Levine, in his book Attached, states that with the right support, avoidants can become more comfortable with intimacy, although it's often a gradual process. Building trust is another vital strategy. Avoidants need to feel secure before they can truly let their guard down. Reassurance and consistency go a long way in this regard. When they see that you're reliable and understanding, they're more likely to open up. Studies show that avoidants are more likely to engage emotionally when they feel their partner respects their need for independence. The key is not to rush the process. A fulfilling relationship with an avoidant partner is about building a strong foundation over time. Make sure to celebrate small victories, like when they initiate a deep conversation or show affection in ways they previously avoided. These are signs that progress is being made. However, it's also important to be realistic. If your emotional needs consistently go unmet, it may be necessary to reevaluate the relationship. No matter how much effort you put in, both partners need to be willing to change for the relationship to thrive. If you're not seeing the changes you need, it's important to have an open and honest conversation about the future. In conclusion, a relationship with an avoidant partner is challenging, but it doesn't have to be a source of frustration. With empathy, patience, and clear communication, it's possible to build a fulfilling relationship that works for both people. The key is understanding the unique needs of your partner, setting healthy boundaries, and being realistic about the journey ahead. Finding harmony with an avoidant partner is possible, but it requires commitment from both sides. Are you ready to face the challenge and take the steps toward a deeper, more connected relationship? The choice is yours. If you found these strategies helpful, be sure to subscribe for more. Keep learning and improving your relationships.